Con todos ustedes, la señora Vandana Shiva.
Dear friends of the trees, thank you so much for inviting me to join you on this important day. It takes me back 33 years ago, when as the forests of the Himalaya started to disappear, landslides, floods and droughts were really aggravated, costing lives. And the government at that time kept insisting that the most important contribution of those forests was the revenues to the national exchequer. It was peasant women of our mountain villages in the Himalaya. No PhDs, not even a school degree, but all the wisdom of the earth, who came out and said, "We will no longer let you cut these trees. These trees are our mothers, these trees are our lives. Without these trees, we will only have death and destruction." Beautiful folk songs were created, and I remember a particular day, 1977, in a very small village called Advani, close to my home. The women came out to a forest that was marked to be cut, and they came with lanterns. And the officials who were supervising the cutting of the forest said, "You silly women, don't you see? It's daylight, you don't need lanterns." And they said, "No, we haven't brought the lanterns for the sun. We've brought them for you. Because you think that the first product of the forests is timber and resin and revenue. But the real product of the forest is soil and water and pure air." At that point, they were jailed, they were ridiculed, but by 1978, we had a massive flood as an entire mountain slipped into the Ganges River, created a 4-mile-long lake, and when that lake burst, the waters reached all the way to Calcutta. That's when the government realized there was wisdom in what the women had said. And by 1981, we had a ban on logging in the high altitude mountains. It was the women who changed forest policy, they changed forest perspective, and they made us recognize that the forests of the Himalaya were not just mines of timber, they were the very basis of life for the largest population in any part of the world. And today, as we listen to the presentation from Greenpeace, we have to recognize that the threat that we fought against in our Himalayan villages and stopped has now reached global scale. And it is starting to affect not just local forests, it is starting to affect those tremendously rich rainforests in the Amazon, which are the lung, the river, the liver and the heart of the planet. They create the climate, they regulate the climate. The ultimate regulators of the planet climate are being cut down. For bad food, non-sustainable agriculture, and now the illusion that we can move from the energy-intensive fossil fuel industrial model of living, of production and consumption, and expect the Earth's limited land to provide enough biofuels to run all our cars, all our factories, to provide energy for refrigeration of vegetables that should be grown in your backyard and are instead traveling 5,000 miles I can hear too much of all this. We cannot but remember and recognize that we are part of one interconnected living earth. We are part of Gaia. We are all children of Terra Madre. And while we have to deal with today's crises, we also need to look back to see where did this habit of destroying nature relentlessly begin. And in my view, it began when, to feed the rising industrialization with its limitless appetites for raw materials, nature had to be desacralized. The living earth, as a self-organizing being, had to be made inert. And as a scientist, I've read all these founding fathers. I wish we had more founding mothers for science. Because the founding fathers said that we have to turn Terra Madre into inert matter, into an empty earth, terra nullius. On the one hand, that allows you to rape and exploit her, and on the other hand, it allows you to take away the resources of other people in other places. Because if the earth is empty, it's not getting used. The use is defined by industrial man. And if you look at how the Native Americans were killed and exterminated, it was in the name of improving the land. The Aborigines of Australia, first of all, they were defined as not being fully human. They were just fauna and flora of Australia, the oldest living human community. And the even more interesting thing was, when the land was appropriated from them, the justification was that they did not grow apples. Since they don't have apples, they can't know farming, they couldn't have knowledge, therefore it's all right to take their land away. This idea of a dead earth that bred the mechanistic worldview and was inspired by the mechanization of life is now in its final throes. And what we see around us as climate chaos is that final test of whether it will be this killing civilization that will expand to the last parts of nature, destroy the last river, cut the last forest, and pollute the last bit of air, or the worldview that the earth provides, the trees provide, the forests provide, that have been shared today since the morning, whether that worldview will allow us to make the kind of radical change that the peasant women in the Himalaya could make by getting together, organizing, becoming one amongst themselves and one with the forest. Climate change has been increasingly referred to in a new reductionist way. If you look at the vocabulary, especially in the financial papers, they talk about zero carbon, no carbon, decarbonization, as if the only form in which carbon exists in the world is as fossil fuel, as oil and gas and coal, that the earth made over millions of years, and that we are burning every year. 400 years worth of nature's work in creating fossil fuels is being burnt up every year.